Hi guys, Mike Greer here, and in this video we're going to take a look at the role of the project management change agent. More specifically, how you can lead your project management revolution in your organization. My background, I'm a project management author and I've written a number of books on project management, mostly focusing on the nuts and bolts, specific, practical, step-by-step tools and guidelines that people can use to bring about more efficient and more smoothly running projects in an organization. I've also been a project management trainer. I've done customized on-site workshops, worked with a lot of teams, and worked with organizations who are trying to do job models and create career paths for project management, and also put in place solid curricula. So I've seen in my 30 years of consulting in this arena, I've seen a lot of work done by folks who are struggling to bring about their own revolutions, and that's what I want to share with you. My overall perspective is first, do no harm. You are looking at rocket scientists. These people know their business. We were at 16,000 feet elevation in the Chilean Andes. They were putting together an array for the over 60 telescopes that will be synchronized and working together, with project after project after projects coming in there to take advantage of these amazing pieces of equipment to look out into the universe and study black holes and dark matter and all kinds of other amazing things that these brilliant scientists were working on. The object of the game in my project management training and my work with Alma was to simply help them find their way. And that's what we have to do. We have to respect the local wisdom of those who are succeeding and having simply more projects than they can handle. And we gently want to put on top of that just enough project management so as to do no harm, to not get in the way of their work, but to rather support that work and facilitate it and make it a little bit better. So you can find out more about that, and with also some very cool pictures from Chile at my website with the article named Sharpening Galileo's Quill. Okay, let's take a look at the session outline here. We're going to, in this video, look at 5 signs you're ready for a project management revolution. We're going to look at 5 levels of project management sophistication within the domain of organizations. Levels of sophistication for project managers themselves and for also a training and performance support system. We're also going to look at some tactics for your project management revolution and the typical arguments against project management change, some project management change bombs. We'll talk about 8 change-inducing project management tools that you can use. We're also going to talk about the Bougainvillea and 10 stealthy vining project management practices. We're going to look at what absolutely won't work, and we're going to examine some criteria for success. After we look at all that, we're going to talk about the role of project management training and certification and 10 steps that you can use to start your revolution, and point out some project management resources that can really help. So let's get started here. Here are 5 signs that you're ready for a project management revolution. Do you have projects that are repeatedly failing to produce the kind of tangible quality deliverables that you set out to produce? Does your organization have projects that are continually finishing late or going over budget? Or do you have way more projects than you have people? In other words, too many projects, people are going crazy. They don't want to work on any more project teams. And the culture itself is really stressed. And finally, are your projects plagued by do-overs and rejection of deliverables? Do you have to start over a lot and basically do things all over again, wasting time and energy and enthusiasm of teams? These are big questions, and if these things are in place in your organization, then you may be ready for a project management revolution. These are the battle zones for that revolution, the domains, if you will, where that revolution needs to take place. You have the overall organization project management practices, the overall culture, how the business does things. So that broader organizational PM practices is kind of the context for everything. Project managers themselves are taking actions every day on a day-to-day basis, and they become powerful targets as leaders of your organization's projects. They become powerful targets for revolution. If you're going to bring about change, they're the ones who will probably be in the forefront of bringing it about. And then finally, you have project management training and support. What do you have to help people become better project managers? What do you have to reinforce the good project managers? What's in place for those? So these are all battle zones for that project management revolution. So what do you need to do? We need to evolve. That revolution means evolving, becoming more sophisticated as an organization practicing project management, becoming more sophisticated as individual project managers, and becoming more sophisticated in your project management training and performance support. So what do we mean by sophisticated? Let's take a look at that. Here you see 5 levels of sophistication for that one domain, the organization. Let's look at each of those a little bit. You can press pause, of course, and pull these apart, but we're going to go through each one of them anyway. So let's take a look. Level 1, at the very baseline, is survival. In other words, you're maybe an entrepreneurial organization or a young organization that we love what we do. We manage to get our projects done through sheer effort and creativity and gumption on the part of our teams. And we also have an intimate knowledge of our industry and our best practices of our specialists. This manages to get things done, but we're pretty much surviving. And that's all. At the next level, when something works well on a project, we try it again on the next project. That's called process repetition. So we've begun to capture some methodologies. Maybe we have a couple of templates laying around and so forth that we use to help people plan projects. We've got a few processes that we have begun to repeat because they're bringing us success. Level 3, even more sophisticated, we begin to formalize our life cycles, our procedures. We're capturing what seems to work well and then making formal the processes and procedures that teams can work through. At level 4, we're really getting to the point where we're starting to do some evaluation, some measuring of, we conduct postmortems of projects, we look at the quality of outcomes through quality reviews. We step back and have an analysis of what was planned to be created versus what was actually created, or what was budgeted versus what we actually spent time-wise and dollar-wise. And use a number of evaluations at this point. We're really becoming much more sophisticated. And then we also look at upgrading our life cycles and procedures based on what we learn. Now, if some of these terms I'm using here, if you're unfamiliar with those, by the way, like project life cycles and post-mortem and stuff like that, plan versus actual, I strongly recommend that you go look at my PM Minimalist video series, which you'll find links to from my website and we'll talk about later. But the PM Minimalist videos lay out the basic project management terminology that you can use to, and I'm going to assume that you're aware of that stuff in this video. I can't stop and go through all that. So finally, at the most sophisticated level, you're going to have the full project management integration in an organization. You have a culture that has a shared project management vision. Your project management is systematic, and you have common procedures and tools. You have common support. It may even take the form of a project office, which is maintains a portfolio of all the projects that are going on in your organization, that even has some resources to provide some guidance and tries to sync your projects with your overall mission and strategy, so that not only are you doing lots and lots of projects, and many of which are just championed by 1 or 2 advocates who are maybe making a career move and using the project to get themselves there. But at this point, we're stepping back and looking at the overall organizational mission, the strategic direction the overall organization wants to take. We're talking senior management guidance for a project office to synchronize and to say no to projects that don't seem to make sense within the context of our mission and our strategy. So obviously, level 5, we're well integrated, and we have we've achieved the purpose of the PM revolution if we're up at level 5 there, because we've increased our organization-wide PM sophistication. So this graphic shows how you proceed from survival to starting to just getting by, to starting to do a little bit of process repetition and capturing maybe in a template or two, through actual formalization of life cycles and procedures, stepping back and measuring, and finally fully integrating it throughout the organization. So at this point, the organization's PM practices are pretty well under control if you've reached that. That's the level of sophistication we're talking about. We're going to go on here from this to the next level of sophistication, which is project manager practices. Level 1, you've got project managers that are able to use project management terms and concepts and tools to plan projects, but they're using locally relevant and very practical, down-to-earth project management terms and concepts and tools to create project plans. At a more sophisticated level, after knocking out their plans and executing their projects, we find managers who are able to coordinate, make more formal inspections, and intervene in a strategic way. They're applying practical, locally relevant terms, concepts, and tools, but they're also coordinating team members, making periodic inspections and interventions that make sense from a more formal project management perspective. Level 3, we're looking at planning and coordinating multiple projects, where you've got a project manager who has the ability to not only keep one project team rolling well and making appropriate interventions and inspections, but now he or she is on top of several projects. Level 4, growing in sophistication now, we have a project manager who's measuring, evaluating, and renewing the PM process. He's upgrading the organization's project management life cycles and procedures by helping to measure and evaluate them. This is a real conscious project manager that maybe takes his postmortems and lessons learned very seriously, capturing information and trying to renew his or her own practices. And still higher level of sophistication is to take this information that comes from postmortems and your own strategic efforts and help project management be integrated more sensibly throughout the overall organization by senior management. So this is providing informed inputs to senior management. So you see what you have here. There's project managers that clear at the bottom, you're just getting by, and clear at the top, you are a leader in your organization working with senior management to make project management happen better. So we've looked at 2 strategic battle zones for the revolution. That is the organization's PM practices and the project manager's practices. And what do we mean by sophistication in each of those areas? Now let's look at PM training and support. Training and performance support for project managers consists of various levels of sophistication. In fact, some organizations, they simply help trainees acquire basic PM terms and concepts. Maybe they outsource it and they just send them to a class where they pick up some terms and they hope something sticks. At level 2, you're helping trainees comprehend, get their minds around what it is we do here locally, share the organization's unique and locally inspired PM visions and values. So we're starting to play a leadership role with the training and support and pulling people along as an organization. By the time we're at level 3 in your training and support, you're providing people with hands-on practice with using formal, approved, organizationally valued project management tools and project management life cycles and procedures. So you're helping trainees acquire these with lots of hands-on practice. And by the time you're at level 4, on-the-job training, guidance, and feedback, that's all about helping people by coaching them, helping them really put those skills to work and giving them some kind of sense that they are achieving and growing, and we're watching them move through the first 3 levels and go further and really become sophisticated individuals. And finally, if you're at level 5, you're talking about creating a project management career path As I say, I've worked with these sorts of things in organizations. It can involve many weeks of analysis, stepping back, doing some retro analysis, looking at what it is we do as an organization and have done successfully. The object of the game is to come up with a model of what the job of project management is. And maybe within that model, that framework, we have several layers of sophistication. So we have a junior project manager, and then we have a journeyman project manager, a senior project manager. Maybe you have a manager coach of project managers, and finally somebody who's capable of running the project office. So you may have multiple levels depending on your organization. The job of project management manifesting in all these different ways and therefore becoming sort of a career path. And supporting that career path means getting in place the formal training and curriculum and coaching that takes people from entry-level sophistication to the full tilt top of the heap here with the ability that we talked about earlier in project management sophistication. And that means performance reviews and feedback and monitoring behavior, okay? So this is the comprehensive PM training and support system. When that's in place, you've moved through all these levels of going at the very beginning, just sharing a language, a way to conceptualize and talk about it at the basic PM terms and concepts level, to starting to integrate the local PM vision and values within that framework of concepts and terms, giving people hands-on practice, and then ultimately on-the-job training, guidance, and formalizing a direction for their careers to take. So these are all the battle zones for the project management revolution. The organizational practices that we talked about, the specific practices of project managers, and then the ways that we enhance and move them along and grow them through training and support. Now let's look at some tactics for your project management revolution. We're going to look at why an open war doesn't work. We're going to look at exploding bombs or growing bougainvilleas. We're going to look at what absolutely won't work. And then we're going to examine some criteria for success. Now, formal project management is burdened with myths, and these arguments you hear that it's only for techies, you need to be certified to do it well. We're going to have to make all these complicated schedules and reports and use complicated, burdensome software, and it's just going to take too much time to plan, and we got work to do. You also might find yourself swimming uphill against a negative history. You know, it's been tried before and failed. In fact, I've taught in a number of organizations that they brought in very large consulting firms, and the consulting firms decided to impose a cookie cutter project management process. Maybe the consulting firms worked with senior management to determine exactly how things are going to be done around here. Here they are coming in from the outside, imposing it on top of their workers, these folks who are struggling to get through projects. And suddenly, not only do they have difficult workloads, but they have a whole bunch of formalized junk that's been created by high-paid consultants who ride out of town and never have to deal with the results. So that leaves a real mess behind. And finally, another argument is that born-again project management professionals, you know, people that find it necessary to become PMP certified, they can over enthusiastically push all sorts of complicated stuff at you when they've fallen in love with new concepts and terminology and new strategies, and it just feels so wonderful. And they, you know, like any born-again zealot, they're coming at you and making you crazy. In addition, there might be an administrative history that's led to successful projects on paper, but everybody that was involved knew that the results were bad. In other words, they made lovely Gantt charts and beautiful timelines, and all the artifacts looked pristine and wonderful, but the results were awful. So these are the kinds of arguments you run up against. In addition, you're going to find this notion that projects already take too long. We don't have time for complex planning and reporting. We don't have enough staff to play all these formal project roles. We don't have time for our project managers to contribute as workers on the project team at the same time they're doing all this formal project management stuff. Because, hey, in our organization, we don't have specialized project managers. We just make someone the leader, and they still got to do the work. And finally, we have a zillion underway projects. We got lots of stuff going on. We're not going to stop and rethink how we're going to do them right now, maybe later. Okay. So these are some of the things you find yourself coming up against. And when you start talking about project management renewal, if you come in the front door with all the lights on, you might find yourself dealing with all of these arguments against change, and it's going to consume a lot of effort. That is the kind of open war that you might not want to have. Maybe instead of an open war, you just want to have a few well-placed bombs. These bombs can result in an explosive shift in project management consciousness. And we're talking about affecting senior managers. We have to affect sponsors and customers. We got to shift the consciousness of the subject matter experts, the creators, the key contributors to the project team, and the managers themselves. So how do we do this? Here are some examples of some project management change bombs. Now, these are all at once shifting events, and I'm going to contrast those in a minute with the vining kind of gently snaking events that happen, which is another way of approaching your change agentry. So let's look at some project management change bombs. You can do a formal post-mortem of a famously failed project. So you look around the organization and you say, okay, everyone has heard about this horrible project that we did a year and a half ago. But we haven't really stepped back. We knew it was a failure. We know it's awful. It left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and it's become something of legend. So let's step back and do a formal post-mortem of that thing and start understanding what happened. And to deal with that can often be a powerful change in consciousness, because you wind up having to address some really serious issues that might be the kinds of issues that are inherent in the way the organization does business. So that can be quite consciousness shifting to deal with that stuff. Another kind of a bomb you can set off is to capture the customers or the end users' complaints and suggestions for PM improvement. Typically, most organizations really listen to customers and end users when they start complaining. So capture some of those complaints. Force the issue of how project management improvement can come about as a result of addressing these horrible complaints that customers have in their own words, so to speak. That can be a consciousness bomb. You can also have some high-profile cross-training events where, maybe it's never happened that you pulled people out into a retreat where all the project management players are forced to work together in a pressurized situation where they get to know each other better and they get to understand each other's needs and issues. Look at a single high-priority project that showcases best practices. One project that used the very best practices and really made a big difference. Give that project some high visibility support and start to get the word out about it. Swift and celebrated policy change. For example, that's another kind of a bomb. Senior manager comes in and says, okay, look, we got to use these 8 most powerful PM tools. And they include project charters. But we're going to use charters around here. We're going to insist before a project gets funded and approved, before a project gets a green light, before you bother people to pull them in on the project team, you got to have a charter that is approved. You got to have meaningful sign-offs. There will actually be someone's written signature. There's something powerful that happens when you insist that someone go on the record by picking up a pen and signing a form that says, yep, I'm behind this charter, or yes, I approve those drafts, or I approved those flow charts, I approved those systems designs. Project postmortems and lessons learned. What if the senior manager said, look, we're going to do those from now on. Every project has to do a postmortem and come up with some lessons learned. Wide net stakeholder involvement. That's another thing where we shift the consciousness, where we let the stakeholders sort of off the hook, but we get them really involved up front in brainstorming the outcomes, the customized life cycles that match their requirements. We get the real intense stakeholder involvement up front where we might not be doing that. What if the senior manager said, look, we're going to do cross training now, and we're going to pull out some people and put them in a project management class where they're not in a project, but these are people that typically play together on project teams, but we've never pulled them out in a cross training situation to have them grow in project management by learning the same terms and learning the same strategies and sharing values. Maybe we'll want to look at, from now on, we're doing prototypes. Smaller, faster creation cycles. In fact, from now on, maybe what we want to do is insist on using agile development method or Scrum techniques. Or we might want to insist on making our plans more realistic by finding and using some of the local planning parameters. In other words, looking back at history, the time and the effort that was required, really analyzing and seeing exactly how long it takes particular types of workers to do particular types of tasks, and then starting to use those as rules of thumb, starting to capture best practices that really seem to work and integrating those best practices and insisting on them in our planning, that every project plan reflect the best practices. Maybe we even want to look at how the competition manages projects. Maybe they're doing better than we are in some respects. And you can learn this by going to, local professional meetings where you share with other organizations, other companies, and get to know some of their practices. Or finally, a senior manager might insist on the change-inducing tool of saying, look, we are going to, from now on, have an up-to-date prioritized portfolio of all of our projects. We're going to be looking at them across the board. We're going to be balancing our resources based on those. And that means you, project managers, have to give us a careful accounting of how things are going on your projects, continually updating them, and we will manage that portfolio. Okay? So these are some little bombs that can be set off by senior management or by the project office, by someone in a leadership role. Also, instead of confronting all these issues that we talked about, all the objections and concerns people have about why project management isn't going to work, instead of an open war, consider a kind of a Bougainvillea-like strategy. Now, what's a Bougainvillea? The Bougainvillea is a slowly growing, relentless plant. It crosses boundaries. It's got thorns, but it's quietly appealing. It's just beautiful, and it pushes through fences, gently blends in with what was there before, and it appears fairly harmless. But you know what? Over time, it begins to dream big and reach for the sky, because bougainvilleas are inherently optimistic. They go for it. They keep gently growing, and before you realize it, you're really covered. It's established itself. It's casting a shadow. It provides shade and color everywhere, and it's just a wonderful thing. So, as a PM change agent, another approach is to think in terms of this carefully nurtured bougainvillea and have some vining practices. Here are 10 stealthy vining project management practices. Start to encourage people to do postmortems and lessons learned. Have them participate in postmortems and lessons learned. Use that wide net stakeholder involvement. Start to reach out and involve more and more stakeholders gradually, including them in the design of the projects up front, so that they reflect their needs and you have less rework as compared to when the stakeholder would wait to be involved clear at the end of the project, and you don't take into account their needs and issues. Consistently start to apply those project charters and sign-offs we talked about. Just create one. Create a sign-off. Yeah, it might be new to the culture, but try one. And then start to consistently use them on 1 or 2 projects, 3 or 4 projects, and then begin to reflect thoughtfully, look back at the time, the effort, the quality patterns that really worked, and integrate those into our plans. Be a good business steward by comparing the plan to the actual time, effort, and quality. In other words, at the end of a project, you want to capture what really happened in terms of the time consumed, the effort consumed, and the quality we achieved, and start to capture those and convert them into tools that you can use to accurately estimate the next project. Number 6, you can carefully document workload on each project and then roll up each resource's workload. So start to really look at a granular level at what's involved in resources work. And the reason for doing this is because ultimately, if you're going to talk about portfolios of projects, managing more than one project, you can't really figure out how to balance workloads unless you're capturing that information about how much people are actually working and how intensely resources are being used. So you begin to carefully document that. Use prototypes. Just start using prototypes. Start saying, hey, we're going to, you don't have to make a big deal saying we're going to do Agile around here and we're going to do Scrum from now on. You can just gently start to develop a prototype here and there, maybe a test case, a model, a mock-up. Start using little chunks as a means to encourage more engagement and getting people to be more reflective about the process. Number 8, use that project portfolio and the local criteria for prioritizing projects. Step back and say, okay, here's what we as a business, we specifically are trying to achieve right now. The competition we're trying to beat right now. And based on where we're going as an organization, it just doesn't make sense to do 2 or 3 of these projects that are in our portfolio. They don't support our strategic direction. So we dare to drop some. Number 9, maybe one senior manager has a little bit of an epiphany and says, you know what, I'm stealing resources. I'm driving these people nuts by rethinking deliverables at the last minute. I'm using resources on 6 different projects when I know darn well they can only handle 3 or 4. And I'm committing a project team without even consulting them. I'm adding deliverables out there. I go to some senior management meeting or some sales retreat and we invent something with the customer that our poor teams have to live with. So if I become aware as a senior manager that I'm doing these kinds of things, that can be the kind of thing that can help to evolve the consciousness of the organization. And finally, we can begin gently to develop new skills, vocabulary, and PM culture by doing some of these things. By focusing your training on practical and not a bunch of esoteric, not just terminology for the sake of terminology or processes for the sake of processes, but really focusing on practical stuff that helps the project manager's job go better. In addition, training that uses real projects for practice so training time isn't downtime. Have people bring to their classes, if they are going to be trained, actual project plans that they're working on, brainstorm them, workshop them, and help streamline them. And they don't lose time by coming to class. In addition, make sure that we get all the project constituencies. That's the subject matter experts that participate here and there throughout the project. The key reviewers, maybe key customers. Increase their ability to use PM vocabulary and start to adopt a PM point of view by having them join in the training, participate, so that we're all sort of singing from the same songbook. And kind of what happens between the lines when we're all in the same room together is we get to complain a little bit and see each other's perspectives. Whereas if you're in the actual project, you never get that between the line stuff that you get when you're working together in a training session. And then start to coach project managers. Think in terms of having junior levels and having more senior levels, maybe being the mentors and coaches for some of the junior levels, and just gently, kind of in a de facto way, begin to build a job model within your organization. So whether it's a bomb or a Bougainvillea, it's all about changing project management consciousness. The project management change agent, kind of, you have to determine in your own organization which is going to work best. You know, maybe it's a combination. Maybe one department or one kind of project you're continually having so much difficulty with, and people are so locked in that maybe you got to set off a bomb and really do something drastic. Whereas in other arenas, people are still more malleable. They're just learning about project management. Maybe you can apply some of the vining techniques we talked about. But what absolutely won't work, don't even bother, is broad senior management mandate that come from the top, and in kind of cookie cutter strategies that were created outside the organization, pounding these down on top of people who are already working real hard to get their project done, or just throwing new tools and practices at them that aren't vigorously and enthusiastically supported by them in the first place. If they get excited about a template, if they get excited about a tool, then okay, you can begin to implement that tool and roll it out on new projects. But if there's no enthusiasm or support for it, to simply impose it on SMEs and project managers and whoever that's working on the project teams, it's just not going to work. It will be rejected. A kind of training that's guaranteed to not work is training that fails to connect all of the tools and concepts with how you do things in the organization, locally, real world, and specifically how this will make my job easier as a project manager. So don't even bother to do training that fails to connect those tools and concepts and tie to the real world that the project manager has to live in. So whether you're implementing a bomb or a Bougainvillea, your moment of change, your changing event has to be simple. It has to be quickly applied or completed. It has to be unobtrusive. It can't get in the way. And you should be able to clearly link it to good results. The team who employs it should be able to embrace it, to reach out and say, yeah, this stuff really makes sense. And in addition, it should be empowering and give me a sense of control. I should feel better as a result of doing this thing or applying this approach that we've tried. It's empowered me. Okay, let's look at the role of project management training and certification. Project management is for everyone, not just certified professionals. A couple of analogies come to mind here. Practice of medicine. A parent puts on Band-Aids and gives cough syrup. That's practicing medicine at one level. A coach bandages a knee and puts on iodine. When somebody gets scraped up, sliding into home base. That's practicing medicine. Emergency medical techs show up and practice life-saving techniques in order to get somebody to their family doctor or their hospital emergency room, where a surgeon can jump in and become engaged and really fix them up if they have a difficult medical problem. And all along, medical researchers are providing these folks with the kind of breakthrough discoveries and new procedures that can keep that field rolling. So at all levels, medicine is being practiced. The question is, where do we need certified professionals? Well, okay, you got to make that decision based on that field. Physical fitness, the same thing. You got ordinary folks. All of us practice physical fitness if we choose to have an exercise program. Trainers, we can get some valuable input for somebody who's gone through a quick certification program and is working as a personal trainer. Physical therapists, with their deeper understanding of anatomy, can help people who have some sports-related injuries, whereas a team physician, of course, has a deeper knowledge, and fitness researchers have additionally deep knowledge that they roll down their wisdom to all the other folks who are practicing physical fitness. So multi-levels of people engage in the practice of physical fitness and medicine. Where is certification needed? Well, who knows? The same is true for project management. You look at your organization, you're going to see that project management is a multi-level practice throughout. Lots and lots of people. The most mundane support roles in a project are necessary and important, and the people playing those roles have to have some kind of sense of what's going on in a project as it's unfolding. Stakeholders and customers and SMEs play their unique roles of critical intervention along the way, whereas the project team members and the project managers have a much more intense role in the project and have to keep things rolling. So the bottom line is PM is for everyone, not just certified professionals. So everyone needs some kind of basic training on project management as it's practiced locally, and that is the key. All project management is local. Local. Certifications that come from external certification bodies are not local. By definition, they're external. Okay, the very definition of the word project includes unique products and services in the wording of the definition. A project has as its outcomes to create unique products or services. And this uniqueness comes from the local situation, the industry that the company's working in, the market forces that are in play, the best practices of your smart people inside your organization. They demand that you do certain things along the way to achieve their local quality levels, that the things that matter the most to their profession and so forth. So all of these things, when they all come together, they mean that a project must be judged on its ability to meet unique local requirements, and therefore the project management processes applied are unique and local. So you have to consider, what are the unique strategic goals of the organization, the career development initiatives, and these other issues here. What is it that you need to bring to bear when you're deciding what it is we wish to have our people certified, or even if we want them certified? We know that they have certain PM skill requirements that are unique to us, some project management tools and procedures that we've seen used in our field that really matter, and we're going to use them because they're locally relevant. Our PM career path and evaluation procedures and so forth are based in our local values. And then we need to think about, what can we learn from external certification sources, such as these? You can pick and choose then. The object of the game is to pick what matters to you. Which, if any of these matter. I mean, look at that acronym soup there. These are just some of the organizations that provide project management certification. So the object of the game is, which of these matter to you? Which of them should matter to you? This chart is an illustration of how you can approach that, how you can approach the taking of control of this process of coming up with project management performance improvement. On the left-hand side is you. That's you and your organization. You've determined your unique local skill requirements. You examine any appealing generic competency lists that you find, which are out there and easily researched. You can find this stuff. The ones that seem to matter, that you could care about, you plug into your organization. Then you look at the generic, universally acceptable competencies and certifications and say to yourself, okay, I want to create some competency lists, career path, training objectives, and all that stuff that matter to me locally. And we'll bring in, that's what those arrows coming in from the side are all about. Those people are in the business of certification. That's what they do. So you reach out and use, pick and choose, smorgasbord fashion, what you want and what matters to you. Don't be bullied into acquiring certifications that are over the top, incredibly time consuming, and in most cases have a hook in them that says, oh, we got to be recertified again next year. Oh, we got to be recertified again the year after that. And oh, by the way, you've just developed a nice revenue flow for an outside organization that you probably don't even need in the first place. So make your own. And in fact, I've got this note in here, which I will let you read. You can click this thing on pause and read it. I'm not gonna read all the words to you, but the bottom line is that Paul Giamavo, he did a an analysis and comparison of PM credentials and found out that the ones that were most rigorous were actually not coming from Project Management Institute, which has the most political clout in our corporate cultures. Okay, so something to think about. And I've got the link down there. My recommendations are here when I'm talking about certification, and they can be summarized in very simply that the PM profession has to create something that's generic and universally acceptable, quit arguing among themselves and all their various little sub-organizations and trying to cut the big pie up that has to do with getting a revenue stream going from certifying outside trainers to help you get a particular certification, or having continual recertifications that have you paying for renewal fees and all that kind of stuff. So bottom line is, in that second bullet, HR and training people, take over, take charge. And I've got some step-by-step detailed recommendations in Beyond PM Certification, Achieving PM Performance Improvement that will show you there. That's that link that will show you how to take charge. The bottom line regarding PM performance improvement is this: local people, local culture. That's what has to drive your project management. And because that's how projects get done, using local people and local culture, local PM change agents and HR people and all your local trainers at by local I mean your organization, have to sort out that external shoulds that come rolling at you from those outside organizations. The external stuff that seems irrelevant or could be burdensome should probably be ditched. Just ditch it. Let's talk about live instructor-led training. When is it useful? Well, it can help your groups process difficult project management issues. So you put a bunch of folks together who worked on projects before, and they might want to have a gripe session, basically, and they might want to rant and rave about management practices. A live, seasoned veteran facilitator can help them process that in a way that's more neutral than having someone in your organization try to facilitate it. So live instructor-led training can do that. Teams can share in hands-on practice by providing a safe place with guidance and correction, and give them the chance to experiment with some new PM processes and tools in a low risk kind of way, so they can mess around and try this tool, see if it works for them, and ultimately find out, before they take it out and apply it to one of their projects, and with the risk of blowing the project up. So instructor-led training can be a good place for these, where they get real-time guidance and correction and facilitation. Why do you go outside for a training facilitator? Well, you need more depth of experience than you have inside, maybe. Internal trainers can also appear to be allied with particular unpopular agendas or particular political factions in an organization. One of the things I've done many times as an outside facilitator is to serve as a hitman. I can gather up through the course of a 2-day training session all the complaints and gripes people have. And then I can carry those to senior management anonymously and say, look, these are the patterns I'm finding out. I got a whole class of 25 people here, and look what was going on. 15, 20 of them are saying the same thing, that you people refuse to back them up on sign-offs and randomly come in and blow stuff up and start it all over again, destroying their budgets, their schedules, and their personal lives, as well as their time to simply rest. So, okay, that's the kind of thing an outside training facilitator can take. They can serve as a hitman. So if your local change agent is perceived as making some kind of a career move, if you're starting to run your revolution, if you're starting an internal revolution, and your internal consultant is perceived as career climbing or hooked up with certain political factions, then you might want somebody from the outside. And for all those reasons listed there, the external person brings some stuff that is PM only, outside local politics, and maybe some practical wisdom. There's some really good cross-pollination that happens with an experienced consultant. I've taught people who are blood scientists with the American Red Cross. I've taught people who are systems analysts and programmers in countless organizations. I've taught people who are psychiatrists for the Veterans Administration, setting up outreach clinics. So, I can list you many, many other wild and crazy organizations like those, deep space peering astrophysicist I talked about in Chile. But the object of the game is to take advantage of the cross-pollination that occurs when an outside facilitator has had so many different perspectives from so many different industries. So get started with your PM revolution. Here are your 10 steps. Look at the 5 signs you're ready for a PM revolution. Go back to the beginning. How can you apply these 5 signs to your organization? Do these indicate that you're ready? Then look at the levels of sophistication for organizations, levels of sophistication for project managers. Remember those pyramids, the levels of sophistication for PM training and support. How sophisticated is your organization in each of these levels? Take a look at that list of the 8 most powerful project management tools. Which do you need most? Which could you apply now? Okay, and again, we went over all these earlier in this video. Consider, do you have the opportunity to set off a few well-placed bombs, and how might you do this? Step 5, review those 10 stealthy vining PM practices and ask yourself, what slow-growing but really valuable Bougainvillea sprouts might we be planting here? And how can I nurture them and help them spread? And review and apply the criteria for success, whether it is a bomb or a big Bougainvillea. There's some things you need to do to bring about success and judge that you've been successful. Number 7, decide what parts of your local PM performance improvement system are in place. What do you need support on, and how can we move forward on that? Which is number 8, what new elements are needed. 9, take a look at your internal and external resources. Who can help with this PM revolution? Who can I enlist? Who are my fellow travelers, so to speak, in this revolution? And finally, list 5 specific next steps that you will take to get your PM revolution underway immediately. Some resources that can help you here. I've got an ebook, The Project Management Minimalist. I've got a video series, absolutely free, about how to become a project management minimalist that can be used to tighten up the terminology knowledge of your organization. It's nice, user-friendly, practical introduction to project management. I've got other resources in particular at my website, lots and lots of articles and tools, but these 2 that are listed there, Beyond PM Certification, Achieving PM Performance Improvement, and Beyond Sales Training, Designing a Learning Organization. Now that's actually designing a learning organization was actually showing a step-by-step approach that we used and was showcased by the American Society for Training and Development, ASTD, in a book that they published, which I actually used that system to go through from 0 to an overall organizational renewal with job aids, curriculum architecture, and so forth. Those 2 are both at my website, and they're available for free. Okay, so go to michaelgrew.biz and find that stuff. So, and of course, I can always help you with your PM revolution if you want. This is the commercial, by the way. Private one-on-one sessions, classes for your groups. I can do customized training and so forth. So you're welcome to email me and see where we go from there. So I thank you for watching this video, and I hope that your PM revolution is successful, and I wish you luck. Thanks for watching.